He was the Rav, the Bezdin, the Rosh Hashiva. Alan mentioned that in the house of Rav Nosson Shapiro, which is by the old shul, so there was a candle always lit, and now the guy has to keep his one light on in the room every single night. And the reason for that is because every single night Megal HaMukos would be visited by Eliyahu Hanavi to learn. They would learn together b'chavrusa. So I'm going to tell you a story. First, one story about the Megal HaMukos while he was alive, and then a story about the Megal HaMukos after he was dead. The story about he was alive is this. I actually just rechecked it to have the sefer in the shul over here. The sefer Megal HaMukos. Megal HaMukos wrote three svarim. He wrote a sefer on all of Chumash called the Megal HaMukos. He wrote one sefer, which is about this thick. I have it in my house. It has 252 pirushim on the first pasuk in Parshas V'eschanan, on the words V'eschanan el Hashem. 252 pirushim just on that one pasuk. The third thing is that if you look in the back of your Gemara, usually on the side of the Rif, there's what's called the Chidushei Anshe Shem. So he's one of the Chidushei Anshe Shem. He's one of the members that's mentioned in that pirush. The story when he was alive goes as follows. Again, I don't know if anybody can verify the story, but you can take the story for what it's worth. And then the story goes that during the time period of the Megal HaMukos, which is also the time period when the Bach lived and the Taz lived, and all very big tzaddikim, is that the Rebbeinu Shalom wanted to bring Mashiach. But there was a kitrug, and the person that he wanted to make Mashiach was the Megal HaMukos. But there was a kitrug in Shemayim. There was the Midas Adin judgment. The Sultan came and he said, but the Dar hasn't stood up to Nisayon yet. The Dar hasn't had a challenge to overcome yet. And basically, they sent the Sultan down to go to try to give a Nisayon to the generation. The Sultan went before the Taz, dressed up as a malach, as a regular malach, and he wanted to learn with the Taz, but the Taz recognized that something was wrong, and he kicked him out. The Sultan then came before the Megal HaMukos, and Megal HaMukos sat down to learn with him, but then all of a sudden he realized that something wasn't right, and he also kicked him out. And then the Sultan went to Shabsai Tzvi. And we know what became of that whole incident. That was an incident about, just to show you the godless of that generation. Now I'll tell you a story about somebody asked me what this thing is right here. You shouldn't step on it. It's a grave. Story about what happened with Megal HaMukos after he died. Shortly after Megal HaMukos passed away, a young man entered the town of Krakow. And he went to the head of the Chevra Kadisha and he said, I want to buy the burial plot next to the Megal HaMukos. Now these two burial plots, one is for his wife and one is for his daughter. And the head of the Chevra Kadisha, and it was obviously a very big honor to be buried next to such a big tzaddik, so the head of the Chevra Kadisha said, I don't know who the heck you are. I don't know who you are. I can't give you that. So the guy said, I'll pay you 500 ruble. So the head of the Chevra Kadisha said, I can't do it. Sorry, can't do it. I'll pay you 1,000 ruble. Sorry, I can't do it. 2,000 ruble. Sorry, I can't do it. 5,000 ruble. 10,000 ruble. So the head of Chevra Kadisha thought, he said, this guy's a young guy. He goes, I'm an old man. I'll take the money. And after I die, nobody's going to remember anything. And that'll be it. Fine. So he says, fine, sold. The next morning they get a messenger from the head of the Chevra Kadisha gets a message from the inn, the local inn. And it says, somebody died. We don't know who he is. So the Chevra Kadisha goes down, and lo and behold, who is it?
It's the next day.
It's this guy. Right? This guy's dead. But the head of the Chevra Kadisha, he just can't bring himself to bury him next to the Megal HaMukos. It's such a chashava, such an important person, and he doesn't even know who this guy is. So he buries him on the other side of the cemetery. And that night, after the head of Chevra Kadisha goes to sleep, all of a sudden this person comes to him in a dream. And he starts to threaten him. He starts to say, I bought it fair and square, it's mine, give it back to me, put me where I'm supposed to belong. Night after night he comes and the neshama starts to threaten the person. Right, I'm going to do bad to you, I'm going to do bad to your family, And obviously the person is very, very scared. So he goes, the Av Bezdin after is the Bach, as we just passed his kever. And so the head of the Chevra Kadisha goes over to the Bach and he says, I don't know what to do. So the Bach says, listen, the next time the neshama comes to you in a dream, you tell it that we Jews, we do Dinei Torah. That's how we figure things out. We don't threaten, we don't yell, we don't scream. We go to a Din Torah. Tell him to come to my Bezdin at this and this time tomorrow. So that's what he does, and obviously the next day the Bach and his Bezdin sets up some type of sheet or something. And at such and such a time, obviously they hear something, some rustle behind the sheet. And the Bach announces that usually the halacha is in Jewish court systems that the Tohen, the person who's claiming, has to speak first. So he gets up and he says, okay, Tohen, speak. And from behind the curtain, a voice comes out and says, listen, I bought this plot fair and square, you didn't bury me where I was supposed to be. And the Bach turns to the head of the Chevra Kadisha and he goes, okay, Nitan, you speak. Right, defendant, you speak. So he goes, yeah, 100% right, I couldn't do it. Right, I couldn't do it, but he's 100% right, it's his. So the Bach guys are together, the Bezdin, they get up. And the Bach gets up and he says, okay, if the burial plot is yours and it belongs to you, take it. And the next morning, the plot at the other side of the cemetery was empty. And the plot next to the Megal HaMukas was full.